One of the things I see with a lot of writers, especially self-published writers, is this quiet sense of overwhelm that creeps in once they realize they're not just writing a book, they're running an author business as well. You may have seen my video that I did, I think it was last week, where I explained what I did in a week. And I'm sure if you'd seen that, then you'd realize that it's not just about the story or writing the story. It's about the consistency in what you're doing and making sure that you stay visible, and sometimes, juggling the whole marketing and writing and everything else without losing the joy of writing in the first place. And usually that's when things start to get a bit messy. Or when they do, writers assume that their problem is motivation, that perhaps they just need more discipline. They need more willpower and more time. But in my experience, that's not really been the case at all. More often than not, it's just a lack of systems. Now, when I'm talking about systems, I'm not talking about rigid rules. I'm not talking about, schedules and all that sort of crap and carry on. I get up when I like, go to bed when I like. And if I'm still writing at 1 o'clock in the morning, that is nobody's business but mine. But I do have systems, just a few different systems put in place to help with decision making and taking some of the pressure off so that it frees your brain up to be more creative. I want to talk about them generally in this video today. And if you want to see more, then definitely ask me and I'll make a specific video on that section. But the three parts I'm looking at today is planning, writing, and marketing. Because I think if you have a little bit of structure, a little bit of systeming in those three areas of your writing business, I do think it helps. So the first thing is with planning, of course. And most people will appreciate that that comes from planning a story. Full disclaimer here, I'm a pantser. If you've been watching my channel for any length of time, you know that I start my stories, I have pictures of my main characters, and that's it. I'll think of a scene usually while I'm doing something else, and then I'll sit down and start writing, and that's it. I just keep writing to the end. But for a lot of authors, even those that do like the flexibility of pantsing, having a basic plot outline can be really helpful. You really don't have to be a hardcore plotter. There are some people that do, but genuinely, I think a lot of the people who use, amazing spreadsheets and they've got pages and pages of notes and all that sort of thing, it's all very well and good. But my question to you is, when are you going to start writing? What most writers need when they sit down to start a book is just a sense of direction. Where are they going to go? Where's the story going to go? And that can be helped just by, knowing your genre rules and things like that. But having a basic plot system, just with the main highlights even, can still give you a lot of flexibility in what you're writing, but it also stops that constant having to decide what happens next scenario, because that is how a lot of authors get stuck, particularly in the middle of their stories. That old muddy middle still happens. So, you don't have to be it doesn't have to be a complicated thing, but if you've got like a base chapter outline or maybe a list of major plot points or even a paragraph, like write your blurb first so that you've got an idea on where the story is going to go before you sit down and write. The whole idea is you're not locking yourself into something. You can change anything you like. You are in control here. But it is really helpful, particularly in the earlier stages of your career, to know where your book is going to go before you get there. Otherwise, you can be like 250 pages in and still wondering what the ending's going to be. And ask me how I know. Planning is also really helpful because, of course, we don't just sit down and write a book in a day. So, when your life interrupts your writing routine, it's really handy. You can come back and you know where your story is and where you're at in your story process because you've already worked it out beforehand. And that can be helpful as well. That applies to in the second part of this process, which is the writing process itself. And the thing is, the big thing, I don't even know if you could call this a system, but I definitely think it needs to be considered a rule. You have to separate the writing process and the editing process see them as two separate things. If you're in the writing stage, which means you haven't got a full draft yet, then it really doesn't help if you write a paragraph and then you tweak it and then you reword it and then you read it again. And before you know it, you've spent an hour moving a scene by about half a page. You don't want to do that. You just want to keep on writing. Don't fix your sentences. Don't polish your dialogue. And definitely don't keep second guessing your word choices. Just remember that you can just fix that later. When you're in the writing phase, oh my goodness, I have to pause this again. Hang on. I may end up repeating something here, and if I do, I'm sorry. I have to keep pausing because I've got my AC on. It's affecting my throat. But anyway, don't keep tweaking. So you don't fix your sentences, you don't polish your dialogue, and you don't second guess your word choices. You just write everything down. It doesn't mean to say that you need to be rushed or careless with it. It just means that instead of thinking of the absolutely perfect word to describe the sunset, which is like 2 lines in your whole book, don't do that. Just keep reading what happens, keep writing about what happens when the sun goes down. Another part of the writing system is showing up when you can. For a lot of people, they think they want to write a book when this happens or that happens or when they've finished this, that, and the other. The whole thing about writing a book is showing up when you can. You can't wait for perfect conditions. Put it down to like having a baby. There's no perfect time to have a baby. There's no perfect time to write a book. Writing systems work best when they fit into real life, not your idealized version of it. So there are days when I write a lot. There are days when I don't write at all. Watch my video that I put out recently on what I do in a week. I'll see if I can remember to pin it up here. And yeah, that is just what happens. But what does matter is that you keep returning to write your book consistently enough that it stays something familiar. It stays as part of your life. Even having a simple routine like ending a session mid-sentence or leaving yourself notes about what happens next. I think one of my readers recommended that for me in a comment on a video towards the end of last year. It's a really good idea. If you leave yourself a few notes and then you've got to dash off, that's fine. You've got something to come back to. And when you do that, you're removing that friction, I suppose, about getting back into writing again. You're making it easier for your future self to show up and just get on with it. Now, the last part of this is the whole marketing business. And marketing marketing isn't difficult. I'm sure you've realized this by now, especially if you're marketing on social media. What is really difficult about marketing is that it is time consuming and it is constant. There is always another post you should be making, always another platform that you should be trying. There's always something else demanding your attention that actually takes you away from your business of writing. And this is where you do need systems, because otherwise your marketing will be the only thing you do, or the only way you spend time in the name under marketing. You might not necessarily be marketing, you're probably doom scrolling, but never mind, and no shade, because hey, we've all done it. So one of the most effective ways, or the most effective systems for an author, is to schedule. And I think I talked about that. Yeah, I talked about that again in the video about what I did in a week. Fridays is my marketing day. So I will have posts and I will schedule for the next week. And I reuse content, the posts that I've written across different platforms, written and formatted in different ways, but it's all the same sort of stuff. So it doesn't matter where one of my readers follows me, they're going to see the bits that I think is important to share. And when you've the key point about that I probably didn't make in that last video is when you're marketing scheduled, it stops living in your head. You're not thinking, oh, I should post something, or feel guilty like me with TikToks. I think I've explained before that I am useless at TikToks, right? But I could get to a Friday and I'm thinking I need 3 TikTok videos. So I'm looking around, like my house, my yard. I'm really lucky. I live next door to a paddock, and there's a dog park across the road. So it's really quite handy, because I quite often see animals or birds or something. But I think one of the TikToks that I did, that I scheduled yesterday, was of it raining. This is how boring my life is. It's not as though I can TikTok myself writing, because that would just be boring too. So I make it boring with other things like the weather. I think I actually use a tag, weather in Wellsford or something. You know what I mean? But that's the thing. I don't think about it on any other day except Friday. Sometimes to my detriment. I probably could make my TikTok life easier if I took TikToks of things through the week as they happened and just uploaded them all to Dropbox. But anyway, I'm getting diverted. The thing is that you reuse your content. You take one time or one set time that works for you. For me, it is Friday morning. If that bleeds into Friday afternoon, so be it. I never expect to write on a Friday. Friday, I am dealing with correspondence. I am dealing with collabs. I am dealing with translators. I am dealing with marketing. I am dealing with scheduling. I am sending posts to my daughter. I am doing all these things, and I do it on one day of the week, on a Friday. And then I don't think about it any other time of the week. And you know what that does save me time doing? Scrolling. Because if I'm not online, then I can't see stuff to divert me from what I should be doing, which is writing my stories. The thing is with authors, is that, for a lot of us in particular, especially indie authors like myself, we don't want to live by the rules. We don't want to have all these structures and things in place. This is why we're not working a regular 9 to 5. But the thing is that we can't just go all, sort of wild hippie chic about it either. If you're serious about an author career, then it doesn't hurt to have a couple of systems in place simply to make that work easier, so you can spend more time on the creative side of your writing life. It's not, you don't need more pressure. You don't need to work harder. But sometimes you could put a couple of structures or little rules or something in place to make your life easier for yourself, like a simple plan for a story, like working on your draft rather than tweaking it and thinking you're going to get a clean novel first time through, like having a marketing system that runs in the background while you're writing. None of those things make you less of an artist, but they do make it possible for the artist in you to keep showing up. And that's what gets your books finished. So, what do you think? Now, this is where you can tell me in the comments how your writing journey is coming along and how you feel about the process. I mean, we all do things differently. Have you got tips you'd like to share with other people? Because that would be helpful too. The thing is if we just keep showing up, our books will get finished. So, and that's always the goal, isn't it? Everything else is icing. By the way, in case you didn't know, I do answer every comment. So if you do have issues or want to ask a question or whatever else, go right ahead and I will reply. If you found this helpful at all, I put out long form content on Mondays and Thursdays. And I'd really, really like it if you'd hit the like and subscribe button. Apparently, I'm meant to ask for that every time I do a video, but how many people actually get to the end? That's what I'd like to know. But anyway, until next time, my friends, please keep writing. And more importantly, have fun with it, okay? We'll see you next time. Bye.